Today has been a bit difficult because I don't know what happened to the system. It keeps coming on and jumping off. That's why you see these words have already been written. We had almost gone halfway for those of you who are watching it from the portal, but it jumps off for reasons I can't tell right now. But I was telling you, because now it's like we have to do it again, we have to get it over. Possessive ism is what we have been looking at, and we said whenever you hear the word possessive, it means to own. It has the word to possess, to own. And we're looking at these words like Khalid's book, and I told you it is the same as saying the book of Khalid. Or we can have another example, the wife of Khalid. When we look into this, you can see that Khalid possesses the book. So Khalid is the possessor, and the book is possessed. The wife of Khalid is showing you that there is a wife who is possessed by Khalid. So now when you hear of the possessed word or the possessor, don't get confused. Just look at the statement and see in this statement who possesses, who is possessed, what is owned. To possess means to own. Okay, so I told you before the system jumped off that there are 3 or 4 rules that you have to bear in mind before we go any further. I had suggested that we bring on board these 3 or 4 rules so that you do not forget them, because they are so important when it comes to these possessive isms. Number 1, we said that the possessed word must not be definite. It must not have this al. Like here, the possessed word is book. You cannot put you cannot say, you cannot make this definite. In any case, this owner, the possessed word, will always be definite. But of course, when we use names like Khalid, when we use like Muhammad or Allah, we cannot put al besides them, so they will be definite in themselves. We shall see that as we go along. And we say that the possessor must always be in case 3. It must be in case 3, and that was rule number 2. Rule number 3, rule number 4. You see, I was giving an example. I think we can now head it from here. When we are translating this statement, Khalid's book, you see the meaning of the word book is kitab, kitabun. Khalid, we have always been referring it as Khalidun. This is case 1. But the rule is telling us that this has to be in case 3. Okay? The rule we have just written before the system jumped. And secondly, there is an important, you see when I was putting this here, that the possessed ism must not have un. Now when we say this is kitabun in case 1, already it is violating this principle that it must not have un. Therefore we remove the un and it will take on the form bu. So this will become kitabu. Now, if you are not following, it may look as something which is a bit difficult, but this is the simplest thing you can ever take, you can ever look at. That the literal meaning, Khalid's book, if you're translating word by word, book is kitabun. Khalid, you say Khalidun. Now the rule is saying this must not have un. That's why we are putting kitab. 3, I mean 2. This name, the possessor has to be in case 3. Now, carried. Case 2 is carried on. Case 3 is carried in. You'll hear something like carried in. There are four. The translation for Khalid's book is going to be Kitabu Khalidin. Kitabu Khalidin. When you mark that, trust me, when you mark that, when you take note of that, everything will be taken care of. Now let's look at another. The wife of Khalid. The wife of Khalid. Okay. What is the wife? If we are to start with the wife. The word wife is the same as saying zawja. Zawja is wife. I think now you are broadening your vocabulary. Zawja. Okay. And then Khalid, you already know Khalid, we have just been using the same statement over there. Now the Lord is saying that it must, okay, this would literally mean zawjatun. In case 1, zawjatun, then Khalid. But this one is telling us this must not have this un must not be there. Must not be there. Therefore, this is going to be read as zawjatu. Not zawjatun, but zawjatu. Okay, zawjatu. So Khalid is going to be in case 3. Therefore, Khalid, case 3 is Khalidan. Khalidin. So how are we going to write this? We are going to write this as zawjatu Khalidun. Zawjatu Khalidun. Zawjatu Khalidin, because the rule is that the possessor has to be in case 3 and this must not have At some stage you'll know those heavy and light words, but what you have to note is that here it must not be this must be removed. Okay, so we can now drive to a few more examples. Let's look at this word. House of Zaid. House of Zaid. House is translated as Baitun. You can see it as Baitun. Then Zaid can also be written as Zaidun under normal circumstances. But now we are trying to look at this possessive. How are we going to get this? We have said that this possessed, the possessed must not have Therefore, we are going to remove the and then what has been baitun is going to become baitu. And this one we have said has to come to case 3 and is going to be zaidin. Therefore, house of Zaid is going to be now read as Baitu Zaidin. Baitu Zaidin. When you mark that, my dear friend, when you mark that, you have hit this thing in the head. You have now known it to the very best. Now you can have another example as you try to look into the principles we have just said down. Okay, son of Muhammad. Remember, when we say son of Muhammad, it is the same as saying Muhammad is son. Now, who is a son? Son. Someone can say Ibnun. Can put a tanwin here, so Ibnun, okay, and here Muhammad can be read as Muhammadin. This is Muhammadun. But now what is the principle saying? This is under the normal circumstance. The principle is saying that this has to be in case 3. What was Muhammadun in case 3 is going to become Muhammadin. And the principle here is saying that this possessed must not have un. Therefore, we are going to remove the tanwin and it is going to become Ibnu. Okay, so son of Muhammad is now going to be read as Ibnu Muhammadin. Ibnu Muhammadin. When you take note of this, that we are not going to have Ibnu. No. Even a word which is going to end with N, if you hear of any word which is going to end with N, the principle tells us that we should remove it. Now I told you, please do not all stop this habit of asking that how do we translate this, my friend. It is going to help you if you do everything out of principle, that you know why you are doing something. Now let's look without a name. Let's look at this word, book of boy, or the boy's book. The boy's book. How do you try look at this? Now, boy is walad. Waladun. Book is kitabun. When we go back to the principles we have just had, we said the possessor must be definite. But because you have been using the word Khalid is a name, Muhammad is a name, you could not see how you can put al. And we said this possessed must not end with un. So we can start with this. Because we are not going to put kitabun, we are going to remove the tanwin and it is going to be kitab. They will ask you, why are you removing the tanwin? Because it must not end with un. That is a principle. Then waladun in case 3, because you have to put it in case 3, and at the same time you have to add al, because it has to be definite. Even when there is no the possessor has to be definite. So this is going to change to walad is going to become al-waladi. Because you can say al-waladin when there is al. So the answer here, boy's book, is going to be kitabu al-walad. Kitabu al-walad. So many examples. Okay, you can have another one. Which is messenger of Allah. I think this is so common. Messenger of Allah. Who is a messenger? In Arabic, a messenger is Rasulun. Rasulun. Allah, of course you know Allah is Allah. So the principle is telling us that Allah has to go to case 3. Therefore, Allah in case 3 will appear as Allahi. And this one must not have tanween, so we are going to remove it and it will become Rasul. So messenger of Allah is now going to be written as Rasul Allahi. Most of you have been hearing these words, Rasul Allahi, Rasul Allahi. Now you know how that comes about. Messenger of Allah, Rasul Allah. So you now know why we are saying Allahi or not Rasul Allah. No, but you know why we're putting Allah, because this is supposed to be case 3, and I promised you that at some point we are going to see why are we using case 3, something like that, and so we can get a detailed explanation for that. Now let's look at this example. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Now you see here, messenger of Allah, the example you have just had, messenger of Allah will show you who is the possessor and what is possessed. But now here we are having a name. That Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Without wasting time, you'll put Muhammad in first in case 1, which is Muhammadun. Muhammadun Rasulu Allahi. Muhammadun Rasulu Allahi. I think now you are getting a bit of what we are trying to explain now. Okay, house of Allah. House of Allah. How are you going to translate this? Of course, house, you have already known. House is Baytun, and Allah, you already know Allah, but you're now putting Allah in case 3, and it's going to be Allahi. And this one must not have un. Un must not be had here. So when we remove the un, it is going to become Baitu. Now we write house of Allah. Remember, we start with this and we end with the possessor. So it is going to be Baitullah. So I hope you have, in some cases, seen something like that. Baitullah, Baitullahi. You now know why it is not Baitullah but Baitullahi. This is going to prepare you for another stage, and I hope when you give this time, everything is going to be pretty easy. When you just mark those few areas we have talked about, everything is going to be fine. We can have another example here briefly, that Kaaba is the house of Allah. Kaaba is the house of Allah. How would you translate that? Now you remember that Kaaba is just a name. The possessor is Allah, is possessing the house. So this is what is concerned about the principle we have just talked about. So we shall simply put Kaaba is translated as Kabatun. Kabatun. Baitu Allah. Kaabatun Baitullahi. So you now see what I have been trying to explain, and that is how it goes on. We can have another example, like slave of Allah. Slave of Allah. A slave of Allah, you know, a slave is Abd. Abdun, but now we are not going to put the tanween, so it will be Abd Allahi. So you hear of the name even Abdullahi. Now you know how it comes about. Abdullah means slave of Allah. I think it's a common name. What's your name? My name is Abdullahi. What's the meaning? Why Abdullahi? He. Because the name Allah is being put into case 3, and here not tanween, we don't have a nun, so it will be Abdu, not Abdun. No, but Abdullahi, something like that. So how if we have looked at the book, okay, even when we have books of a boy, books of a boy, okay, I think that can be the last one. Okay, books of a boy, of course. Books. What are books? Books. A book is kitab. How about if there are many? There will be kutubu. Kutubu. Okay. Kutubu. So because you see this is okay, so you will write kutub al-walad. Kutub al-waladi, d, because you already know this when you put it into case 3 and it has to have al, so it will be kutub al-waladi. Okay, so this is how easy this thing is, but I'm telling you it gets easier and it's gonna prepare you for the next stage if you offer it enough time. We can now move back and see what we are exactly talking about. I have said, we can now move a little bit, that possessive means, this is grammar, that there is what is possessed and the one that possesses it. But there are some 4 rules that govern this particular area of grammar, that the possessed word must not be definite. Like, you cannot say Khalid's al-kitabu Khalidun. No. It can never be definite. It can never have al. And remember, it comes first. The possessed word will come first. So you cannot say al-kitabu Khalidun. No, it will always be indefinite. But this time, it must not have a un. Because if it's indefinite, as you see, it is supposed to be kitabun. But the principle here is saying this word must never have un on it. That is why instead of kitabu, we are putting it as kitabu. By the way, even when the word is ending with n, you are supposed to remove a few letters. Like, for example, I think we forgot to have an example. Maybe we can have it another time. But you would see that even when the letter is supposed to end with, like, the word Muslim, okay, Muslims of the Ummah. Yes, we can have that as another last example. And you see how that rule really gets serious. Muslims of the Ummah. Now, what are Muslims? Muslims will be written as Muslimuna. This, I had forgotten this, by the way. Muslimuna. And we are saying that this first one, the what is possessed must not end with n. What are we going to do? Ummah, you can still write it as Ummah, you know how to write. Muslims of the Ummah. Now, it has to be definite, this one. So you'll find you're writing Al-Ummah. I think that's it. No. Al-Ummah. But of course, when we put this to case 1, it will be Al-Ummat. Okay? Now, when we are translating this, we shall remove completely. This n is going to be removed. And Muslims of the Ummah, you are going to end up translating it as Muslim al-Ummah. Muslim al-Ummat. Okay? Muslim al-Ummat. We are going to have something like that. Muslim al-Ummat. Why? We are removing the na here because it is a principle that the word, the possessed noun, the possessed ism must not end with So you can now get over it. We shall now get over it. We shall get a few more examples, and you will see that if you note the principles we've just had above here, everything is gonna be fine. If you note these principles here, the first one, case 3 stuff, it must be definite, like that, you will find it more easier when you go to the next stages.